Well, it's overwhelming to be here. So greetings and welcome everybody, just as you've been greeted before. And I stand up here and I look at you guys. I'm getting overwhelmed already. And I was planning on talking to you immediately, but I'm going to have to leave you for a minute and I will come back because right now I'm an emotional wreck. So that's as far as I wrote my speech anyway. So anyway, that's the truth. So what I want to do first of all is I want to talk to everybody here. All these people that have come, just take a look to your left and to your right and look at all the people, all of you is who I want to talk to for a moment. You have all come here to show your support for them. When I look out and when I came here this morning, I saw mom and dad and grandma and grandpa, aunts and uncles, brothers, spouses, children, on and on and on and on, and you all came here for that. And as Alex just did, you are going to be thanked many, many, many times in the next 48 hours even. You will be thanked for your support in bringing them to here. And I do thank you for that. But there's something else. I want to thank you for something else. Something that sometimes gets overlooked or pushed aside. And so what I really want to thank you for is simply just putting up with them. Putting up with them since they were maybe a little child who got up every morning and had to sing the national pig anthem to all the pigs they had on the shelf. Or when you walked into their room and you realized that all their stuffed animals had thoracic incisions for a stuff removal. All these things when you came home and they were doing multiple dissections on the table. All those things when they wanted a pet alligator when they were 9 years old because it made a good pet. And then veterinary school came. So all their enthusiasm, the enthusiasm that I talked to you about tonight, all that enthusiasm just went up a notch. When they filled compulsive behavior to have all their basset hounds or whatever animal they had tattooed onto their body. Their stories continued to grow and grow and grow and get better and better. In fact, my family quit inviting me to Holt family gatherings because when I was in veterinary school, that's where my heart belonged. That's what I got so excited about. And I always wanted to share everything that I was learning with them. I can remember if I think back in 1987, a special Easter came and we were going to have a Holt family gathering. A Holt family, that's tragic in itself. But we were going to have a Holt family gathering and they actually invited me to that. And they said, if you come, will you please just be quiet? Just sit there. Do not share your veterinary stories. Do not reassemble the turkey as you did last Thanksgiving. And I want you to know my turkey skeleton still stands proudly in my storage room. And I said, yeah, I can do that. I will agree to do that. I will come and I will behave myself. And so this Easter came together, and every Easter for as many years as I can remember, we always had to have Easter ham. My father loved Easter ham. He loved all the things about an Easter ham, and he was sure that not having ham on Easter was a cardinal sin. So we always had ham on Easter. This Easter was special. My mother, from a dear friend of hers, was given a leg of lamb. And so she always actually convinced everyone to cook this leg of lamb for us for Easter. And as we all gathered around the table, my mother brought this leg of lamb out and it looked beautiful. It was crispy brown and it was bubbling with things and it looked wonderful. And so she set it down there, and I did my best. I was like holding my excitement because I so much wanted to point out the greater trochanter and the stifle and the meat and all that, and I didn't. I sat there just as though my family had done it. And my mother took the knife, and she began to cut through the semitendinosus and membranosus. As it laid open, I heard a poof. And I stuck back like this, and I was blinded for just a moment. And I wiped from my eyes, and I looked around at the family, and I noticed petechial to ectomotic, coalescing pus splatter all over everyone. Right now, my excitement level was beyond exaggeration. I couldn't deal with it because they were saying, look how juicy this leg of lamb is. And I go, it's not juice, it's pus. Look down. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I did my best. This is asking too much of me. I grabbed the knife, I grabbed the fork from my mother, and I began to carve out the lesion. I looked down in it, and there's a pocket full of molten pus boiling inside of it. I carved it out like this, and I began to show my family the encapsulation, the thickness, the fibrous tissue, how it had actually grown in size and pushed the tibial or the sciatic nerve caudally so the leg was still neurologically functioned. And then my family was blessed that day because I could find the needle injection. And I was able to carve that out and show them the injection site lesion. And as I pulled it up like this, the meat and everyone was blessed by this, and it looked like I had just removed the world's largest anal gland. This is the kind of things I thank you for. The sad part is, if you think these stories are going to quit because they're graduating, that's not going to happen. They just get better because now they have a license to do that. And now I want to come back to you guys. I want to look at you and you make me smile. But I want to tell you, I know that I speak from all the faculty here. We truly, truly wish that we could prepare you for every challenge that you might come across in this profession. That's not going to happen. My challenges started on day one of my career. I went to Gunnison, Colorado, and my Monday morning started where they said, yeah, just come to work and be there about 8 o'clock. So I set my alarm clock at 4 o'clock, but as I was not sure how long it would take me to drive from my 8x12 trailer I moved into to the clinic. So I got up at 4 o'clock, and by 4:15, I was driving to the clinic. I got there at 4:22. I sat there in the back parking lot for the next 3.5 hours waiting someone to arrive, but I was not going to be late for my first day. When everyone arrived, they asked me, how long have you been out there? I said, oh, not very long. Not very long is relative. And they invited me in, and they introduced me to people, and they showed me around, and they brought me into the office. And they said, here, we got this for you. And they gave me a brand new purple smock. And I put my purple smock on, and I could not believe that this was my first day of work and how excited I was. And I looked down, and it said Dr. Tim Holt on it. I rubbed it. I looked at myself. I thought, this is the most best day. I don't know how a first day of work could get any better than this. And I followed my bosses around that day, and I wanted to share my experiences with them that I had none. And I wanted to share my knowledge with them. And so I would say things like, that's a sink, or that's a dog. I can recognize it by the barking. And I was so excited to share my knowledge. And finally my boss looked at me and he said, why don't you take the vet truck down to the come and go and fill it up with fuel? And I said, what? He said, yeah, just take the truck down and get some gas in it. Just be careful and go get gas. I said, you're going to let me drive the vet truck on my first day of work? First you give me a purple smock, and then I get to drive the vet truck on my first day of work? It doesn't get any better than this. And I ran from the clinic, and I got into the veterinary truck, and I drove down to the come and go, and I'm honking the horn, and I'm waving. I'm the new vet in town, and I'm just like enjoying every moment of this. I still cannot believe I'm in the vet truck my first day of work. And I come into the come and go, and I fill it up with fuel, and I go in to pay. This is long before credit cards were invented. I went and I paid for it. And the girl there named Tony, she said, oh, you must be the new veterinarian of Town and Country. And I said, yeah, that's right. And I got me a brand new purple smock with my name on it. And she says, I see that. It's good looking. I said, oh, yeah, it's real good looking. But when you're at the come and go, there's a rule of thumb. It's kind of like my father in the ham. You have to get yourself a 44-ounce big gulp. So I went over there and I got myself a 44-ounce big gulp of Coca-Cola and a moon pie. And I got back in my truck, my vet truck, and I started heading up Highway 135. And about a quarter of a mile from the clinic, you have to deviate off to the right. And to this day, I still don't know what happened, but it was long in my mind. I'm driving, and all of a sudden, I see an eruption, a volcanic eruption of 44 ounces of big gulp. It comes blowing up out of the cup like this. It covers the steering wheel, up on the dash, all over my brand new purple smock, and 44 ounces of Coca-Cola went onto my crotch. When I look up to see where I'm going, I was airborne. I had failed to make the turn to the clinic. The vet truck is sailing through the air and nosedives into the ditch. This is my first day of work. This is my first day in the veterinary truck. I get out. I can't fix it. I don't know. The wheels are up in the air. I hide my big gulp. Nobody's going to see my big gulp. And I run to the clinic, and I find one of my bosses. I said, I wrecked the vet truck. And he said, you what? I said, I wrecked the vet truck. It's in there, and I got my purple smock all wet. And we run back down to the vet truck, and we pull it out. And he just brings it up in the clinic, and he says, I suggest that you keep this between you and I. And I said, oh, believe me, it's between you and I. And I went in, and the day got better. The day was going good. I just was sharing my knowledge again, back to the dog, cat, and guinea pig. And then it got very busy. My other boss came to me and he said, hey, there's a drop-off little heifer back there. Can you go look at it? Just bring it into the chute, take a look at it, and see what you think. I said, oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. He said, you know how to run the chute? I said, oh, yeah, Dr. Gary taught me how to run that chute. I know how to run that chute. So I went out, and sure enough, I got that heifer in, and she was crazy. She was bouncing up and down and throwing a fit, and I listened to her, and I did whatever I could, and I convinced myself that she was a wild heifer and there was something wrong with her. That was my problem list. That was my differential. And when he came out, he said, do you know what's wrong with her? And I said, yeah, she's wild. There's something wrong with her. And he said, that's good. Why don't you let her back out and I'll look at her this afternoon with you. I said, that'd be perfect. He said, you know how to let her out? I said, oh yeah, I can let her out. Dr. Gary taught me well. So I went around in the front and I pushed her and I wanted her to back up and go back into her bin. And I put my hand on her head and I was kind of tapping and I pulled the lever and I soon realized about halfway through the pull, this is opposite from the chutes that I learned on. When you pull the lever to the front, the door opens to the front. When I pull the door, the heifer jumps forward. I'm holding her head and I'm screaming, no, go back. No, go back. I'm pushing at her. And she jumps and her head hits me in the chest. It knocks me flat on my back. All of a sudden, I just see heifer running over the top of me. But like any good doctor, right up my first day of work, as you will be, I looked up and I examined the udder as it went over the top of me. And I knew that this was not the problem. And I thought to myself, I cannot let this heifer get away. I cannot let this heifer get away. So I reached up and I grabbed a hold of her tail like this. When I grabbed her tail, she took off running. You can't make this stuff up. She is running around in the back of the room, and then it dawned on me what she had. This heifer had coccidia. You know why I could tell? Yeah, you got it. All over my brand new purple smock, all over the walls, diarrhea everywhere, and she's pulling me around, and I'm yelling, whoa, stop, please come back, please come back. And my boss opens the door to the small animal clinic because of the commotion. What do you think the heifer does when it sees the open door to the small animal clinic? Yeah, it runs right by him. And the words out of my mouth I will never understand. I have no explanation of them. I rolled to the side as I went by, holding onto the tail, saying, stop, stop. I yelled to my brand new boss. I said, pay no attention to the man holding on to the heifer's tail. Pay no attention to the man holding on to the heifer's tail. She ran into the small animal clinic and blew diarrhea everywhere. She turned the corner and knocked me off on the side, and I went flying against the wall, and she ran out into this reception room where I heard lots of laughing and commotion. I got up, I wiped myself clean, I wiped off my purple smock, and I went in there, and one of the ranchers that I got to know later had let her out, and Debbie, our receptionist, was standing there, her eyes this big, and she goes, you are so dead. She said, I have no idea who you are, but hiring you I think is going to enlighten this clinic some. I stayed there 19 more years, and really things didn't improve from there. So that was the challenges that you may meet. Some of them you can't explain. Some of them you're just going to have to adapt to. I want to talk to you one more time about something called focus. There's going to be times in the morning where you wake up and you're going to go, wow, I don't know if I can focus or not. My mind is gone. I have something going on. It's going to be difficult. I remember a specific day again. It was a Monday, 2000. November 13th, I think. November 13th and 14th. I got up Monday morning. I knew this Monday night was Monday Night Football. The Denver Broncos played the Oakland Raiders for a chance to go to the AFC playoff. I got up, and for most of you know that I'm a Bronco fanatic. I put on my Bronco Bronco socks. I put on my Bronco pants, my Bronco shoes, my Bronco hat, my Bronco shirt. I was ready for my Bronco game on Monday night. I went to the clinic and the day went wonderful. Things were going good. Everything was perfect. We had the radio going. We had everything good. And about 4 o'clock, Stacy calls me. And she said, hey, Tim, do you think I can bring Mitch in for one more acupuncture session? He has done so well. Mitchie's a little border collie. Mitchie has done so well with his acupuncture. Can I bring him in and just get one more session as I'm moving to Montana? I looked at my watch. It's a little after 4. I said, come on in, Stacy. Bring him on in. And so Stacy brought Mitch in, and I put Mitch and Stacy in room 1. And I set her on the couch, and I put my oriental pillow on the floor, and I lit my 3 candles, and I turned on my own music. And I shut off the lights, and I sat down next to Mitchie, and I began to acupuncture Mitch. And I put in a lot of needles, and I told Stacy, since you're leaving tomorrow, what I'd like to do with Mitch today is make this session just a little bit longer. I'm going to put a few more needles in. We'll leave him just a little bit longer. Is that okay with you? And she said, oh, yeah, that'd be great as long as it's good with you. So I put a few more needles in, and we were just sitting there chatting. Then Debbie opens the door, and she said, hey, Tim, will you mind looking at a little Yorkie that just fell out of the truck and just take a peek? And I said, absolutely, if that's okay with Stacy. Yep, that's good. So I go out and I look at the little Yorkie. He is fine. I put him in a cage. Everything's good. I look at my watch, and it's 5:35. It's perfect. I got to get home because in 25 minutes the game starts. I'm in perfect shape. I run out. I get in my truck. I drive home. I sit on my Bronco couch. I get my Oreo cookies and my grape Kool-Aid, and I sit down there, and the game is coming on, and the game starts, and the first quarter is marvelous. I even went and got more Oreos and more grape juice, and I came back out, and the second quarter not so good, but halftime came, and what a beautiful display at halftime. Third quarter comes, and I've got more Oreos and more grape juice, and I'm eating and having a wonderful time, and then something strikes me. Where's Stacy? Where's Mitch? Oh, I think I must have sent him home and forgot. And then I thought, I don't remember that. So I ran out, got in my truck, drive down, focusing, drive down to the clinic, and of course the clinic is pitch black. And in room 1, I see a glimmering light of 3 candles in there, and I'm going, oh, it's no problem. I go in there, I open up, I turn on all the lights, put on my spot, run up to room 1, inhale a couple times, walk in, turn on the lights, blow out the candles, turn off the old music, look at my watch, that ought to do it. 4.5-hour acupuncture session. That'll last Mitchie about 4.5 years. Focusing. My last story to tell you is probably one of my biggest ones because it has such an important moral to me. You're sitting here today and things will continue. The thing I want to warn you about is always continue to build yourself. You have all these people that are here, including your family and your friends and all of us here ready to help you at all times. But never let yourself get stagnated. When it's time and you feel like yourself is getting stagnated, do something different. And go learn something new. And me and Jim and Greg one day were standing in the office, in the back office, talking just about that. What are the 3 of us going to do to better ourselves, to move forward one more time and do something different? And Debbie comes through the room then and she says, hey, there's a girl out here named Melinda. And Melinda wants somebody to look at her turtle. And I turned around and I looked to see if Jim and Greg wanted to look at the turtle. They were gone. One thing I will tell you right now is if your bosses don't want to do anything, they will be gone. It's like magic. They're gone. And then I looked at Debbie and I said, yeah, this is exactly what we were talking about. I can look at a turtle. I know a little bit about turtles. I used to go to Kansas and pick up turtles all the time with that beautiful yellow stripes on their back. I would bring them home, and sometimes they would live 10 days to 2 weeks. I know a little bit about turtles. I can look at this turtle. Put him in room 1. I will look at the turtle. So Debbie puts the turtle in, Melinda in room 1, and I open the door and I walk in. And on that table sits a turtle. It's the biggest turtle I've ever seen in my life. It's this big around. I am not exaggerating. This thing is this big around. Its shell is like this. It just walked off of Jurassic Park. Its tail sticking out. Its head sticking out. Its paws are sticking out. I looked at it and I said, Melinda, that's the biggest turtle I've ever seen in my life. And she says, Spiky is not a turtle. He is a tortoise, and he is not feeling well. And I said, tortoise, turtle, potato, potato, I don't care what it is. That is the biggest tortoise turtle I've ever seen in my life. And I said, and so what seems to be the problem with Spiky? And she said, he hasn't pooped in over 3 weeks, and now he doesn't want to eat. And I said, well, I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't know about anybody else or any other creature, but you don't poop in 3 weeks, that's a problem. So I'm already forming my differential list. That's a problem. So I get out my stethoscope and I listen to Spiky's chest and I hold his paw trying to find a pulse and I look at his head and I'm moving my scope around on his shell and I put it up on his head to see if it has an aortic murmur and I come back and I put it on his tail and I'm moving it around and I take it off and I put it in the drawer and Melinda says, I didn't know you could hear heart and lungs through a turtle shell. I said, oh yeah, Dr. Campbell taught me that a long, long time ago. It's no problem. So then I'm looking at him and I'm trying to decide what to do next, and it dawns on me. He's constipated. So what would I do with any other animal that's constipated? I would do a rectal exam on it. So I confidently went over and got myself a glove and I lubed up my finger. I'm going to rectal this turtle, by golly. I'm going to find a poop plug and it's all going to be over with and I'm going to be in good shape. So I lift up to Spiky's tail and I put my finger in his little rectum like this and I get to where I want to be and Spike decides he doesn't like that. He doesn't run away from me. No, he clamps me. His shell comes down on my finger like that. And at first I don't think much about it. I try to pull it out. The more I pull, the harder he clamps. He's now crushing my finger. I suddenly have this realization that I'm stuck in a turtle's butt. I cannot get out. I'm stuck. The more I pull, I can't get out. He's crushing my finger. I begin to slide him back and forth on the table like this. I cannot get out. Now I'm starting to panic. My knees are getting weak. I'm starting to sweat. I can see blood in my finger of my glove. I'm pulling. I finally tell Melinda, I said, hey, turn around. Look at that Bassett calendar behind you. And she turns around and I bang Spiky on the ground. I'm trying to get my finger out. I'm stuck in the turtle's butt and I can't get out. So then I have a brilliant idea. I'm going to hold off his nostrils because when he suffocates, he'll let me go. It's brilliant. It's an act of brilliance. So I put my fingers on his nostrils like this, and I'm holding his nostrils. And about that time, I think things are going well. He retracts that prehistoric head, and he lunges forward and bites my finger. He doesn't bite it and let go. No, he bites it and holds on and starts crushing me. I am now stuck in a turtle finger trap. I have my finger in his butt and my finger in his hand, and I cannot get out. I'm boom, boom. I'm trying to get out. I'm trying not to panic. I'm trying not to show that I do not know what the heck I'm doing. But I think, okay, I'm going to cause vertigo. And I start taking him like this. If I can cause vertigo, he's going to vomit and kick me out. And I do this for a while, and it finally dawns on me I'm failing at this. The more I try to get out, the harder he clamps, and I'm going to be stuck here for a week. So I finally tell Melinda, you know what? I'm going to have to take Spikey in the back and do some more diagnostics. But I've got him right where I want him. I'm going to hold on to him here. But can you open that door and let me through? And we walk through the door. And I walked into the back room, and everybody looks at me, and they go, what are you doing? And I said, don't ask. Just fill the bathtub up. So I go and I said, me and Spikey are going to take a bath. And I put Spikey in the bathtub. Little did I know that Melinda was following me behind. I fill up the bathtub with him, and the warm water goes around him. And I'm just right now trying to not pass out because I just can't do this any longer. And pretty soon I feel his shell release, and my finger is free of his butt. And then I feel his mouth release, and I'm free. And I just stand there. I'm not going to do anything except stand there. And I hear Melinda. She's jumping up and down. She's patting on my back. She's holding me. And she said, oh, Dr. Tim, I've never seen anybody go to an extreme like that to help my turtle. I have 32 more of these at home, and I want you to be my vet. And I had no idea what she was talking about. And I looked down, and in the bathtub, there was a pile of poop that was this big. He could have climbed on that and actually had a picnic on it. So what I'm telling you is this, is don't give up on anything. If you're in doubt of something, do something different. You continue to learn and do things. And the last thing I want to share with you is this, and I'm going to come out here and just yell at you guys. This is for you. If I take your lives right now, can you hear me? Yes! Your lives right now has been somewhat like this red string, okay? Yeah, it's very, very pretty and everything, but it has no form to it. You're constantly changing its form, constantly doing different things with it. But today, after graduation and tomorrow, I'm going to take this string and I'm just going to do something with your life as you are today. Thank you guys so much for having me. I love you dearly, man.